this is what we want everyone to do. We're going to do a really interactive hands-on piece here. You're going to be doing a lot of things. Go ahead and find an object that's close by, something you're really curious about, something you're interested in looking at closely. It might be a pen that gets taken apart. It might be an interesting water bottle. It might be the table or the chair that you're sitting at. It could be a lamp that's close by. Go ahead and choose an object. And then once you've chosen that object, explore it for a minute. You're going to touch it, look at it closely, turn it over, look at it from the top, the bottom. And you're definitely going to want somewhere to document. So you have a notebook, some paper, small, medium, large size, some Sharpies, Post-it notes, and go ahead and draw that object, looking at it closely.
Looking at a sock. And so I was looking at how the pattern is different at the top and the heel. And actually this is a worn sock, and so it wears in different places. And so I was looking at how toe wears in this one particular place, which I think was because of my toenail. I don't know. I was trying to think about the causes of the wear in the sock.
Thank you so much. Can we move to, maybe Paula, you can stop screen share, and then I can spotlight the other Lauren. That was Lauren Penny from Maker Ed. And this is Lauren from the Aquatic Park School. What object did you pull out?
This fuzzy pillow from a little bench in our kitchen. And I was noticing the picture on one side, blank on the other side. It's supposed to be this, and how there's like tons of stains and marks on it that I hadn't noticed. And was checking out the inside. Pulled the inside out, read the label.
Yeah. Thank you. Looking in as well as out. Araceli, can I invite you to share with us your object?
Sure. I was looking at this little pencil sharpener that was on my table. This is now like my workstation. And I was drawing as I was looking. I don't know if y'all can see. But I noticed that there's like matching ridges on the lid and the base so that it locks, but they're like in really interesting like waves. It's not just like straight across. I also noticed that there's a lot of like molded plastic parts, like the little cone where the pencil goes in is like molded plastic. There's like that little circle, it's also molded plastic. That's where the screw goes in. Yeah, it's like I just noticed that it's a lot more complex than I would have expected. I was like, oh, it's kind of simple, but there's lots to look at.
Thank you. And one more share, Vida from the Culture of Repair Project.
Hi, so this phone doesn't, this is my object, my headset, and it often is crackly, and so it connects into my phone right here. So I was examining the little connector, this connector here. And what I noticed as I was doing it, as I was drawing, was that I was seeing far more of the object than I had, like this taper that goes down here. I hadn't, like if I just drawn it without looking, I wouldn't have put the taper in there. And so I was really noticing sort of that I noticed a lot more by way of drawing. I didn't actually solve my problem of and I didn't actually even get to the point of having any ideas about why this connection's not good, but I did more deeply appreciate the importance of actually looking very, very closely, which is what was required in doing a drawing.
Thank you so much, everybody. So you've already done quite a bit of looking closely, which is a part of the agency by design framework. You can go to the next slide, Paula. Thank you so much. We don't have that there, but we have there's 3 capacities within the agency by design framework: looking closely, exploring complexity, and finding opportunity. And that first one, looking closely, one of the activities that we use over and over and over again, it's really this routine for sure, is something called a thinking routine. This is a parts, purposes, complexities thinking routine. If you are familiar with it, you feel free to put a thumbs up in the reactions box, or in the chat box. Feel free to say something about it, how you might use it, or you already do. But the first part of it is to consider, what are the parts of your object? The first question. So I'm going to ask you to take a minute to think about all the parts. And if you work with English language learners, you imagine there'd be a lot of language development here, really trying to figure out, well, what are the names of these parts? But go ahead for yourself and either just make a list in your head. You can write a list on paper. If you've drawn your object already, you can go ahead and diagram it. And then very likely, as you've been considering the parts of your object, you've probably asked yourself the next question, which is, what are the purposes of those parts? What do they do? What are their function? So again, take another minute in this routine to consider, what are the purposes of those parts that you just identified, either on paper, your diagram, on a list. And then lastly, what are the complexities of this object? What's puzzling about it? Do you wonder about this object? Complex. How are the parts relationship to one another? Here it is. So here is the agency by design framework, a graphic of it. And what you just experienced was that looking closely moment, building up some looking closely capacity, which works in relationship with 2 other capacities, exploring complexity and finding opportunity, which together helps you build a sensitivity to design. Now, in order to be empowered in anything, in order to have a disposition of empowerment, you have to have different things, not just sensitivity. You have to want to use that disposition. You also have to have the skills. I mentioned earlier that the maker movement tends to focus a lot on skills, and we don't in agency by design. We tend to focus on sensitivity, and that's because research has shown that in schools we actually scaffold out for sensitivity, and what that means is, like, you notice when to use your disposition, that you are attuned to opportunities to step up and say something or do something or to change it, that you're the kind of person who's like, oh, well, we can fix that, rather than, oh, I don't know. Right? That's really what empowerment is about, being an agent of change in a way, and to have the skills and the excitement and the energy and the noticing of when to use that disposition. So thank you for trying out that looking closely experience on your object. We're going to continue and we're going to go deeper. And now we're going to explore some complexity of your object as connected to systems. So here are the definitions on these slides of these 2 core concepts. But I think that we'll just continue and leave it at, we'll leave it at the engagement part so we can continue working on those. Do you want to take over, Paula?
All right. So you have your object in front of you. And the next thing we do is think about the system or the systems that are connected to this object. So probably more than one system. And some examples are the manufacturing system, the system of capitalism, educational system, an aesthetic system, political system. So list out all the systems you can think of that are connected to the object you've chosen.
Globalization, labor, communication, economics, manufacturing, education, crafting, advertising, capitalism, the economic system. The headset is obsolete, compelled to replace, not repair. So objects oftentimes have been designed, what she's referring to there is they've been designed for obsolescence, so to be thrown away, that you can't actually fix them. It's very common to try to open up an object and you can't open it up or you can't get that part back. Sustainability, someone says.
There are so many systems connected to our everyday objects. And in Agency by Design, we have another thinking routine that's called Parts, People, and Interactions. So in this, you've identified all these different systems. So now pick one of those systems and think about what are the parts of that particular system. So you might circle a system that you're really interested in, and then write out all the parts connected to that system.
Your head might feel like it's exploding right now, and that's normal. You might be like, what? All the parts of the economy? All the parts of the communication system? But just try to put like 10 parts down.
And the times we're in right now, this is how you become a systems thinker. It's so important to understand systems. Thinking about Quinn's talk, how do we disrupt the system? You can't disrupt it if you don't know what the parts are. Then this next question gets to the complexity. How do people in the system interact with each other and with the parts of the system? Think about how you can represent that in however you're taking notes and making your thinking visible. What kind of interactions are happening? Is it one way, pushing on each other?
Love to have a couple people share in a moment. I privately chatted a couple people to invite you, but if you would like to share, please let us know in the chat and then we'll spotlight you. Spotlighted Jeffrey. Jeffrey, are you there?
Yes.
It's like being a radio host. Welcome to our show today.
Thank you for inviting me.
What kind of system did you look at closely and explore complexity of?
I went into globalization because I have this little like swag bag flashlight that I was given at some conference that I went to or some event for no reason. And I probably went there for the flashlight, and I think I've never used the flashlight. So I know it was the little made in China symbol that really got me thinking about globalization and our global economy. So I started off with consumerism because for some reason we need these little trinkets to even go to their little event stands. It's a nice flashlight. It works really well, but it will break. So it is cheap. I'm sure that's probably why they did it. That's probably what they wanted, the company. Then they employed another marketing company, probably a third-person company, who then had a Chinese manufacturing connection, but they also use communication systems in order to reach out to them and do all that. There's a lot of labor that went into it. There's a lot of production labor, distribution, find all the parts, all that on their end. Then there's shipping all on the way back. And then it comes back to the original company, the ad company, and then who makes the swag bags? Probably interns who are underpaid in our economy, or the people who they think don't need. They can just give them some menial task and not really train them for anything important. Then it went to the event attendees who probably watch Netflix with Marie Kondo and then decide to throw it in the trash, and then this ends up as landfill.
You just went through the entire potential life cycle of this one small object, looking at it. What does your documentation look like? I saw you looking at notes.
Yeah, it's a flow chart.
Nice.
Very nice.
Now,
Yeah.
there's definitely a circle of some sort here, I'm sure, because it is a system, but I didn't get there.
That's a great way to represent your thinking. And you might think, oh my God, little ones can't do this. But you would be shocked. Kindergartners can actually go through this process of thinking. You might need to do it together, right, as a class, to think about the production of a pencil, but they can break it down and be like, oh, who helped make this? Who was involved in this this system, and maybe it's a little more linear that you draw out for them, but that scaffolding will make the most amazing adults. Sabrina, where are you coming from?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us today. What object and system did you look at?
Well, I looked at my headset. I've been using it a lot lately since we've been walking and doing activities outside as a family. And so as I looked at it, I thought about communication, and I thought about the different podcasts that I'm listening to, the different music that I'm listening to, how I'm listening to my superintendent give some instruction, my principal. So all these different things where I'm receiving information, sharing information, and then getting that information processed to be able to help my students in my school. So as I thought about this, I thought about other people that could use it would be the people that created it, the people that designed it, the different customers just like me who could possibly write reviews, have conversations about the benefits of this particular device, manufacturers, and just how it just really creates an opportunity for us to build infrastructure and communication. And my notes kind of looked a little something like this. It wasn't the greatest, but just something to get started.
No, that's fantastic. Anything you can put down on paper is worthwhile. You know, it helps you remember.
That's great. You guys have gone through looking closely and exploring complexity. In our last 2 minutes together, we want to invite you to do finding opportunity. And we can just go ahead and show them the whole thinking routine. But here you're really like, the sky's the limit here. You're going to imagine if, and you could imagine if distance learning. We're not going to have time on our call today to imagine if distance learning, but imagine if communication, in Sabrina's case, could be made more effective. Or imagine if that headset could be made more effective. Or imagine if it could be more efficient, or more ethical, or more something else. It could be more beautiful, more equitable, better for the environment, whatever it is, whatever you want more of, whatever is your value that you are bringing to this system's redesign. So take a minute to imagine if your object or your system. There are people coming back in from the breakout sessions. Welcome. We are currently finishing our main session here where we are doing an imagine if of an object or a system. If you want to share something in the chat regarding your breakout session, you're also welcome to do that.